Hello, my name is Remy Recchia. I am a PhD student at Oklahoma State. I'm a poet. I write other genres also. And today we're going to talk about using images in poems. So, we primarily use images in poems for three reasons. One of those reasons is that it helps ground the reader in what you're writing. So it gives the reader something tangible to hold on to, so something that we can recognize in real life. It also helps build the scene or the setting of the poem. For example, if we're writing and there's a tree or a cloud in the poem, then we know that we're outside. If you're writing and there's an image of a pillow, maybe, or, clothes hanging up in a closet, we know that we're in a bedroom. Lastly, you use images to also contribute to metaphors, similes, symbols, other literary devices, so that the image itself isn't the center of the poem. The image helps us understand the meaning or larger context of the poem. So, for example, if we're writing a love poem and the poet uses a flower or a heart as an image, then we know that it's about love, but it's not about that specific flower or that specific heart. So it helps kind of set the tone, it sets the mood. So, to practice using images in poems, I have come up with a pretty short writing prompt. So, we'll go over the prompt and what that means, and then I will also give an example of what that might look like in your own poems or in someone's poems. So, the prompt is to choose three unrelated objects in your physical surroundings, hopefully immediate surroundings, because we're not going anywhere with the COVID-19 pandemic. So I would get comfortable with whatever's in your house. And you're choosing these three unrelated objects and putting them all in one poem. Study the objects closely, and you're looking for what they have in common. So, a shoe or a TV, for example, might not look like they have anything in common, but then if you look again, maybe the TV is off, so it's black on the screen. Maybe the shoe has a black check mark for Nike, and then they have the color in common, so they both have black in them. Another example, maybe there's a bug on your window pane, and then also there's a necklace in your room with a dove on it, and we have a connection that they're both animals, right? They're both living creatures. Once you've selected all three of these objects, which are unrelated but that you're finding commonality in, you're going to use those objects as images, which will guide the poem. So, in that example, you're not writing a poem about a dove or about a bug, but we're using those objects in that poem to help us understand the tone and the mood. And they don't have to be explicitly related or connected in the poem itself either. So you don't need to write and say, like, okay, here's an object or an image that I'm using. It's a dove, and now I'm introducing this other object, which becomes an image, and it's a bug, and here's how they're related. You just need to know that they're connected in your mind, not on the actual page. So, as an example, we have a love poem. It's in a series that I'm working on right now. And the three objects that I chose were an anniversary balloon, a red stained rug or a carpet, and Venetian blinds. And the connections that were made here were the color red. So the stain on the rug is red, the balloon was red, and then there were the blinds, which is different, so we'll get to that connection in a minute. And then the other connection was light passing through something, or light being kind of reflected off of something. So with the light, where that comes in is there was light coming in from the blinds, and then there was also light being reflected off of the balloon. So all three of those things are related in a way. And we'll hear the poem now, and then notice that the narrative of the poem doesn't explicitly explain the connections, and the images also help support the narrative quietly and provides details for the reader with the setting. But it's not about the images, it just helps enhance the poem. So I will read this one for you guys, and then I'll also note that some of these lines are taken from a Wikipedia page on Venetian blinds, so that's why some of the lines don't really add up in a normal way. And what you can do is just look for the images and then think about how you'd want to do that in your own work. This one's called Pastoral number 6. We're lying next to each other on Sunday morning, sleep flowers pressed in your eyes, 5 o'clock shadow on my jaw. The Venetian blinds are half drawn, fossil of line and no filter. The slats can be rotated such that they overlap with one side facing inward, and then in the opposite direction, such they overlap with the other side facing inward. An old anniversary balloon wilts in the corner, and I'm reminded of last October when the clerk ID'd me at the gas station, said I'm too young to be married. What he didn't know is I have already built a house, a home, a life. My palms sweat your absence on business trips. They butterfly your thigh at church. We administer our own communion. Between these extremes, various degrees of separation may be effected between the slats by varying the rotation. I haven't been on a first date in so long, but darling, I've always known you. There are also lift cords passing through slots in each slat, and also the sun. There are also empty bottles on the counter, and also the red-stained rug. When these cords are pulled, the bottom of the blind moves upward, causing the lowest slats to press the underside of the next highest slat as the blind is raised. It took Christ 4 days to unsleep Lazarus. We'll weather last night out together for hours, your legs curled into mine, on a discount mattress and frayed blanket. A blue jay teaches his children to fly outside the window. A modern variation of the lift cords combines them with rotational cords and slots on the two edges of each slat. The baby birds plummet to the ground, one after the other. Their father flies across the yard like a machine. We model our behavior so children can grow into their parents. This avoids the slots otherwise required to allow a slat to rotate despite a lift cord passing through it, thus decreasing the amount of light passing through a closed blind. Let the sun rise without us. Let's miss business hours. Let's fill our bellies on bread and eggs and cheese. You'll put cinnamon in my coffee. I'll drive you to work. There's only so much time to burn those feathers. All right, and so in this we have multiple images, but again, those three that were being connected were the anniversary balloon, the Venetian blinds, and the red-stained rug. The lines, again, that are taken from the Wikipedia page, that's sort of an experiment. That's not directly related to this prompt, but that is something else that's happening in this poem. So again, your prompt here is to choose 3 unrelated objects in your room. You are making connections in your mind with them, and then including them in the poem. And your narrative is not based off them directly. Have fun.